In one of my previous unit highlights, I very controversially named specifically the Blades of the Blood Queen the best Great Weapon unit in the game, but if you want to talk about base units in terms of just pure numbers, the Chosen are the most Great Weapon infantry that you can get in the game, certainly. Excellent attack, defense, weapon strength, charge, armor, leadership. They are pretty slow, but they're also very expensive. A ton of HP too, it should be mentioned. So Warriors of Chaos here up against Lizardmen, very thematic matchup. This is actually from a recent stream, King of the Hill I did. Just wanted to talk a little bit more about these Chosen kind of in depth. Let's look over the builds as they get ready to clash here. Chaos Marauders, we've also got the Mirror Guard here, an Exalted Manticore, Kolek Sun Eater, Sorcerer of Death, and some Marauder Horse Masters. Got a couple Halberd Warriors as well. Warriors of Chaos actually, believe it or not, did get some major benefit with the recent patch, mostly due to the infantry bracing and kind of mass mechanic being improved. Chosen and their other heavier infantry are much more functional against monsters, it seems like. And sort of an indirect buff. Halberds also got a pretty direct buff. But anyway, Lizardmen led by Krokar got a second Carnosaur, some Saurus Warriors, Red-Crested Skinks, some Javelin Cohorts, Lord Croak, and some Cold One Riders as well. Yeah, so Chosen with great weapons. They ridiculously good stats, to be honest. 48 attack, 46 defense, 7,860 health in large unit sizes with 60 unit models. 32 charge as well is very solid for infantry. Going to put them in the 70, well, almost 80, right, attack. Lord Croak's going to try to start detonating some of this Chaos infantry. Lord Croak did also get cheaper in the last patch as well, but unfortunately his ability still has a very long wind-up time. Mirror able to somewhat dodge that, although they are still getting crumped by the cohort of Sotek. No Saurus Warriors there, but the Chosen are going to get into combat here, and we'll kind of keep the monster mash of Krokar versus Kolek in the background as these Chosens just start to grind through the Saurus, and they will definitely grind through. So, Chosen still have painfully slow attack animations, but to be honest, Saurus do too, and they're going to go ahead and just disengage as Lord Croak calls down the Wrath of the Heavens, or whatever it is. I guess just raw magic, probably. Anyway, yeah, they are fast enough to actually dodge that, so although they are quite slow, an ability with crazy long wind-up time like that, still a problem. But these other Chosen get in here with the Mirror Guard, kind of helping them hold up a little bit here. Kolek chasing back Krokar. Krokar hasn't really been able to get a super solid engagement with like him plus the other Carnosaur at the same time. Kolek's had pretty good ability timing, and credit to the Warriors of Chaos player here, but I believe Papa Palpatine. Anyway, another burst going to go off, and you can see how he's prioritizing the micro with these Chosen. I mean, they are very expensive. One of the most expensive infantry units in the game, and I think baseline probably the most expensive infantry unit in the game. Ironbreaker's 1,500 now. I would have to double check, but anyway. They're not that much, I don't think. Chosen just look amazing, too. The Great Weapon variant in particular is very, very cool. These massive great axes. They are hulking monstrosities, certainly. Like, practically, you know, large, but still count as infantry. And as the Chaos player is kind of utilizing them to just grind through, really, their leadership will come into play. They are not immune to psychology, which a lot of people criticize Chosen for, but terror's not as much of an issue as it used to be. Something with as high as leadership as Chosen does typically have, you know, you're not going to have major leadership issues, even if someone's trying some ridiculous kind of leadership debuff cheese strategy. As Chosen are still good enough that they're likely not to get terror routed unless they're just really losing horribly, and thankfully they're tanky enough, and especially with Great Weapon infantry, not typically having the best defensive stats. I mean, we can look at some others, but Chosen with Great Weapons having that, just everything baseline. They don't have any special abilities. This is true of a lot of units of the Warriors of Chaos. As they stand right now, they don't have any special abilities. They're just really good stats. They are kind of expensive, but just, I mean, nothing going on down here on this bottom row, right, where you would see your special abilities and kind of traits and everything. They can literally just hide in the woods, and that's it. What you see is what you get with the stats. You don't have to worry about no finicky martial or murderous prowess. You don't have to worry about them going into some kind of rage or, you know, whatever else. They'll just do what they say on the tin, which is to carve up armor like nothing else. And with the mass changes here, I wanted to highlight also, you can see how they're actually holding up just fine against these Cold One Riders. I mean, granted, some Spirit Leech support, but Cold One Riders are not really staying for a sustained engagement. But Cauldron Riders are a unit that in the past, I mean, with their charge and weapon damage active, they do have enough stats to hit these Chosen. That can be just the problem of elite infantry in this game, is a lot of stuff can kill infantry, or at least it could very easily before. Now that they're a bit harder to be knocked over, certainly they seem in practice to be a little bit better. But let's see here. The Bastiladon still has quite a bit of HP, tons of armor. The Javelins do a decent bit of armor-piercing damage, but it's not going to be amazing. Krok is still holding this balance of power up pretty significantly as well. Basically, Krokar and Kolek killed each other, but Kolek actually slightly survived, which is also going to come into play in terms of leadership. But you can see these Chosen over here, they're just fine. They're feeling mostly fine. No problems at all. This one here is feeling a little less sure of themselves. They're going to get detonated here by Krok a little bit, but actually the Bastiladon does them a huge favor and does knock a few of them out, which you'll notice previously, I don't know, I don't really have good side-by-side footage, unfortunately. I was thinking to record some for the infantry bracing changes with specific units to do some testing, but it is what it is. Yeah. Anyway, the Chosen, though, you can see they're fine. They're still mostly fine. They're low on leadership, certainly, but the Exalted Manticore comes back. That's going to be game, as the Lizardman player calls it there. Yeah, Chosen with Greatweapons, I'm a little bit higher on these guys because of the infantry kind of bracing and knockdown changes, because they actually can stand and get their hits in more effectively now. Previously, that long attack animation just meant that they really struggled to actually do it before being knocked over against most large targets, and it seems, again, needs more testing for sure. It's a small sample size of this one game, and I haven't seen that many others specifically with Chosen Greatweapons, but it seems like most infantry in general just seem to be fighting large units better. So, Chosen with Greatweapons obviously being the most expensive Great Weapon infantry, they're going to be better at just kind of giving you that all-around armor-piercing that's so good in so many situations. Like against the Lizardmen, you know, you could argue that you might want to take the Halberds here specifically for dinos, but to be honest, these Chosen Greatweapons will also just destroy Saurus. I mean, they did, purely in terms of damage value, maybe not pay for them spells, but they also tanked a lot of damage as well, and their leadership comes in critical in the late game where Kolek, you know, gets mostly killed and routed off, possibly even could have been killed. I still think these Chosen would have been fine, though, even if Kolek had kicked the can. But anyway, let's go ahead and just finish up talking a bit about Chosen with Greatweapons. I did a video previously about Shielded Chosen, which I still think are my personal favorite variant, but let's go ahead and take a look at the big boys. Yeah, 1450, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, yeah, 1300. I don't think there's anything else really that comes close in terms of cost. Maybe, yeah, Ironbreakers are only 1200. I mean, ROR Ironbreakers, you know, ROR Peak Gate, ROR Hammers, rather, the Peak Gate Guard. There's a few that get up there, right? Like the Regiment of Renown Black Orcs as well, right? But just in terms of base units, this is not a Regiment of Renown. This is just a straight-up unit. You can do pretty crazy things, too, like give it tons of chevrons, which gets very out of hand very quickly. You know, you could take a 2,000 cost infantry unit if you really wanted to. Probably not actually a good idea, but they do have 95 leadership and ridiculous stats. If we go back down, just this 48 and 46, I would like to go, even against, you know, High Elves, who with their martial prowess stacked in, have probably on average the best attack and defense kind of as a faction. Even with that martial prowess, you can see 46, 36, you get a little bit of bonus from that, but it's still, I mean, barely like on par, right, with the Chosen, and the Chosen have straight up 1500 more HP, which is an insane amount. 30 more armor, too, just some more weapon damage straight up. I mean, the bonus versus infantry means these guys will hit infantry, you know, basically the same, more or less, but Chosen still just demolish. 32 charge as well. I talked a little bit about this before in my video about Bestigors and other kind of infantry units with decent charge. Charge bonus is hard to get on infantry because it goes crazy with the model count kind of math very quickly. So you won't really find high charge infantry. Like 30, 40 is really where it maxes out. I don't think there's any infantry that have over 40 unless you stack some buffs. But I mean, best score even 32. Right, yeah, with this extra 8% stacked on top. Pretty massive. And Chosen also, 32. I mean, they only have 60 models, so maybe not as crazy, but, you know, Forsaken also pretty good charge. It's just, when you do get a clean charge with these guys, that and puts them up to 80 melee attack, right? And what, 82 weapon strength, so they'll one-shot some unit models straight up with that weapon strength, like on the charge, certain infantry units, and it's insane. They're just really good stats, and now that they don't get knocked around so much, they can actually get those, 10-year-long attack animations done. They should be much more effective. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.